This is a Livingston Parish Ordinance Committee meeting. Today is Tuesday, March 14th, 2023. It's a few minutes after 5:30. All right. Roll call.
Mr. Mack?
Here.
Ms. Sandifer? Here. Mr. Wascom?
Here.
Mr. Gillette?
Here.
Okay. So let's get started here, y'all. Old business. Okay. I tell you what, before we get started on this, let's quickly talk about multifamily development. This is a, I guess you could say,
New business?
yeah, this is new business. This is going to be agenda item 4A. There's a discrepancy in the current ordinance on multifamily development buffer zones. Basically, it says for multi-story units, the buffer zone shall be a minimum of 50 feet. Did everybody get a copy?
Which one we on? The one you just handed out?
No.
No? Okay.
But I'll share you with my copy.
Okay.
So,
Do
do
y'all have a copy?
y'all have a copy?
Look, I think yours is over there and see what it says right here.
This
Wait,
is
can we
4B,
see
right?
this?
Oh, no, it's 4A. This is it.
This is it. 4A, y'all.
All I got is 3. Listen, that's 4. I got it. Okay, so what's in red is what the discrepancy is?
Yeah. So basically, the multifamily development buffer zone ordinance says two things. If you look at B, it says for multi-story units, the buffer zone shall be a minimum of 50 feet for all sides. It also says, D says the buffer zone shall also have an 8-foot high solid wood, brick, or masonry fence between the residential and multifamily development. And then if you go and look at E, it basically says the 25-foot, not 50-foot, but the 25-foot buffer zone and 8-foot fence requirements shall be waived if all adjacent landowners to the required buffer zone submit a notarized letter of no objection on a single-floor multifamily development unit only. And then in addition to that, it says all multi-family units shall adhere to the 25-foot required buffer zone and 8-foot fence requirements. So it's contradicting itself, okay? This is really just a quick fix so that people ain't confused and we're not saying, I guess you can say.
Give me the fix.
All right, so the fix is we're going to delete in E, we're basically just going to say all multi-family units shall adhere to the required buffer zone and 8-foot fence requirements. And basically that's what we're going to say.
Do you not want to leave the waiver if the neighbors sign the letter of no objection, a notarized letter?
You know,
Why would you not want to leave that?
This was I did have intentions to leave that. I didn't prepare this. I think this might have been sent over from somebody in the planning department. But I do think that you need to be allowed to waive the 8-foot fence if and buffer zone if
I mean, the neighbors might want you to waive. They might not
if you get a
want.
letter of no objection. Yeah, exactly. You might be in the middle of, I don't know, a 40-acre plot or something with your commercial development
And the neighbors
and the
might not
neighbors-
want an 8-foot fence on their,
yeah. So
So we're gonna keep the waiver in, what are we gonna strike out?
yeah, so I'm going to take a second to look at this. But it is a discrepancy on the 25-foot stuff. So basically, I think what it should do is just delete,
change 25 to 50
change the 25 to 50
on item E.
on item E.
Change it back to black, where it says 25 foot, make it 50.
Yeah, and then delete, okay, so I'm going to go over this in just a second. And then delete all multifamily units shall adhere to the required buffer zone and 8-foot fence requirements. Let's delete that. Okay, that was what I was looking at doing. Okay.
Yeah, that's just redundant.
Yeah. So basically, what it's going to say in the future is, hey, you got to have a 50-foot setback on multi-story multifamily developments
And an 8-foot
and an
fence.
8-foot fence. And then it's also going to say in E, it's going to say the 50-foot buffer zone and 8-foot fence requirements shall be waived if all adjacent landowners to the required buffer zone submit a notarized letter of no objection on a multifamily development.
So
you just
the way I
We're going
read
to take
it,
out the single floor stuff.
the way I read it, tell me if that's right, Shane.
Go ahead.
The way I read it, what's in red needs to be black now, and what's black needs to be red.
He's wanting to leave it
Sorta.
how it is.
Sorta. We did tweak the wording in the red. What?
So give me a statement, I'll make that motion.
Okay, okay. Go ahead, Aaron. Did you?
No, go ahead.
Okay. This is what E is going to say in the future. Y'all help me out if you don't agree with this. Okay. The 50-foot buffer zone and 8-foot fence requirements shall be waived if all adjacent landowners to the required buffer zone submit a notarized letter of no objection,
I'll make that as a motion if that's what we need.
period.
Everybody agrees with that?
I second that.
Take
Yes.
everything else out. And that'll fix it. And if we look at it some more later and want to talk about it when we go to introduce it, at the ordinance, we can talk more about that later. Okay. Now, in the past, the ordinance committees would make favorable recommendations to the
He just made
ordinance
a motion to
committee.
do it. He just made a
Waiting on
motion,
you to call for a vote.
and I second it.
Okay, so this is what it's going to be. This is
You're
to,
the chairman. However you want to
this
do it.
motion's a favorable recommendation, basically.
Oh, to the council.
To the council,
Oh,
because we
yes.
can't actually make the change here.
No, but
No, we don't have a-
we make that change recommendation. Motion
So
to
that's a recommendation to take this to the council,
Right.
move forward with those modifications.
Okay.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All right, motion carries. Moving on. All right, the abandoned vehicle ordinance, we're going to talk about that in the next ordinance committee meeting. I got to look into that some more.
Okay, which one you on now?
Okay. So the next one we can talk about is, this deals with the zoning classifications and the uses within those classifications, okay? There needs to be more clarity on the land uses within our classifications, okay? And this may take a while to run through, but I think that you're going to agree, once we start to talk about some of the clarification that's needed, that
Do you have
We
one
need to
off the
take a
top
look
of
at
your
that.
head that you feel like's causing us a problem?
I do.
Which
I
one
do.
is that one?
I do. Well, let's look at agriculture, for example. We may just look at 2 or 3 of these. Let's make a commitment. Okay, so it's 5:45. Y'all want to be out here for 6:30? We'll go to 6. We'll try to go to 6:30, and at 6:30, if we're not complete, then we'll pick this back up in the next ordinance committee.
Let's see what we got. Let's
Okay.
see. We might could finish it.
Okay, we'll try. Say that again? Did somebody over here say something?
4.15.
Oh, this is our 1.5. We need copies. Here.
Was that the first one you're going to talk about?
No.
No? Okay.
Okay. I wanted to see how you all felt about the agricultural zoning, okay? If you look at agricultural definition, it basically says the purpose of AG, the classification agricultural, is to promote the growth of agricultural development and is intended to protect farming, ranching, and timberland harvesting. The district also promotes the growth of low-density residential development, commercial and industrial development, which promotes agricultural uses. All lots will be a minimum of 3 acres, okay?
Okay, what's the problem on that one?
Okay. We need to look at a good bit of stuff here, y'all, but basically, what I feel like some of the problem is it basically just says, under accessory use, it says small business, okay?
Okay, so I'm going to stop you.
Go ahead.
Confused.
Go ahead.
So it says agriculture, you can use small businesses for accessory. That would be like a saddle shop or something like that. Is what you call a small business?
Well, now, that's a good point. I'm glad you mentioned that. Saddle shop, to me, would relate to agricultural business.
Okay.
So that would be acceptable.
Veterinarian?
Veterinarian business, lumber yard, sawmill, if somebody's got a little sawmill in their backyard or something, things of that nature. Tractor sales, but now this has came up within planning before, and being that it just says small business, they felt that, some planning commissioners felt that it would be any type of small business.
So we want to say agriculture-related, but small business.
To me, you need, in some way, shape, or form, Dallas, you want to come on up and to the podium and kind of give some feedback here? I mean, to me, we need to clarify that really agricultural, if something's zoned agricultural, it's not for any type of small business. It really has to be
Agriculture-related.
related to agricultural. So, go ahead, Dallas. Just say who you are, what firm you're with. Okay. I think that that's acceptable. I just really feel like, and I could be wrong, I'm thinking you need to rezone, if you want a mom and pop grocery store or something, you got to rezone it.
Right.
Yeah, just rezone it to small business neighborhood. Yeah. Yeah, that's the way it should be.
I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking agriculture is for farmland.
Me too.
Raising cows, raising corn, chickens. I mean, it's pasture, it's raising trees.
You could have a feed store, something like that.
If it's a store, it's commercial. It's
Well,
not agriculture no more.
It is.
I mean, that's in my mind. Agriculture means ag, raising of produce. Maybe I'm wrong, but if you're going to put a store there, then you need to rezone it to commercial or small business.
Small business, yeah.
I agree with John.
I agree with that.
Well, so what if somebody wanted to open up a feed store?
On how much land?
Whatever lot size they wanted. Say they had 50 acres and they wanted to put a little store on it, or maybe
Oh, they're going to put it on the road? Well,
maybe they had 3 acres. Maybe it was 3 acres zoned agricultural, and they wanted
Well,
to
if someone wants to do
be surrounded by.
If someone wants to do a store, that's okay to be informal, right? Because I didn't ask to be recognized.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, you're good.
Okay. If someone wants a business, a store, anything, I think it should be rezoned for that.
Absolutely, because then you get into taxing entities are different, because agriculture gets a different exemption from homestead and benefits.
Okay, that's a
and-
good point. Good point. But let me say this. Agricultural, to me, you zone it ag. It's what John described it to be. The type of businesses within that classification, to me, need to be related to agricultural. An example of that would be if you was to go say, oh, no, just rezone it as small business, okay? You could do that, but then they would be allowed to put anything there that was allowed under the small business classification that might not be related to agricultural.
So
What's
what?
wrong with that?
Yeah, so what?
I believe the purpose of agriculture is that you're steering that development towards agriculture. If you start adding small business, then the next
Right.
person's going to say, why can't I just
You-
add some commercial? And now you're.
Well, then you don't rezone
You're
it.
trying to preserve,
Then you don't rezone it.
but you
just
need
leave-
feed stores next to places where they're raising cattle and horses and things like that. You see what I'm saying? I think the best way to do this is just to say what you originally said is if your business needs to be related to agricultural, and then if the, I guess, planning commission and the people around there and, the team wants to reclassify to have some other type of business not related to agricultural, then you reclassify. You see what I'm saying?
And that's a good point, okay, but listen, then you got two different issues there, because if you do it that way, you can say some businesses are gonna have to be rezoned and some don't have to be rezoned. So we have to do it the same way all the time to be consistent. If you're gonna have businesses coming in, it doesn't matter if they're agriculture type business or not type business, or it could be an auto parts store, I'm just gonna use that, or a Dollar General, they got them everywhere, okay? So those would have to be, under the current rules, they would have to be zoned as small business, right? To have a dollar store on agriculture property.
Well, let's clarify that. If we fix it and remove small business, then the answer is yes. Currently, the way the law is written, under agricultural, you can have any business, any small business.
You can?
It's under permitted uses, under agricultural, B3.
3B?
Yeah.
And also those types of business that come in that aren't agriculture, you guys,
Listen up, talk loud, Dallas.
also, there's the commercial businesses that would come in that have nothing to do with, let's say it's a Dollar General with agriculture.
Right.
That's what.
You could have a strip mall. You could have a strip mall.
They'll come in and say, hey, we want to do a strip mall here or something that has nothing to do with agriculture. Well, then you guys would have to vote on it. They'll have to get signatures of all the people who own land around them, all their neighbors, to say, hey, you know what, we're okay with this. If you want to do it, we'll all vote. And if everyone agrees, then they can do it.
You rezone?
To be rezoned to a commercial or a small business. They'll have to get approval of their
Yeah.
neighbors.
Well, my thought is, and I'm not an attorney, and we can get others' opinions,
I know one.
but if you, I know, but you-
Everybody's one.
if you reclassify it to small business, my thought is legally, you're not going to be able to prevent any type of small business from coming there. So say you reclassify it,
So what
okay,
type of small
and then
business
that
would you
development-
not want? What,
Well, I mean, to me, if you're trying to preserve agricultural use, trying to keep an area rural, then you don't want a strip mall, and things of that nature. You don't want a movie theater, something like that there. You want to keep it, you want to preserve the quality of life or the type of life that is classified for. You see what I'm
okay,
saying?
let me throw another.
Throw it.
Okay, let's just say you leave it agriculture. Somebody's got 100 acres and they're using it for agriculture benefits, for growing pine trees or raising hogs or whatever. And they're getting subsidies from the government because of agriculture or whatever they're using. But all of a sudden they decide they want to take a lot on the main highway and they want to do a feed store, okay? But you don't want them to put the movie tavern there. You want them to do the feed stores, okay? All right, with me so far?
Because it's related to
Okay.
agricultural.
Okay. So what we could do is, that's the reason we adopted zoning, is to give us the ability to say, yes, we will rezone this, no, we will not. So at that point, they'll come to you and say, we want to rezone this to small business, and then your question will be, well, what are you going to put there? And if they say a movie tavern or something, you could say, we're not going to rezone that.
I agree with John.
I mean, we're not rezoning it, but if it's a feed store or a saddle shop, as you mentioned, then you could say, oh, that fits perfect, we'll rezone that.
Okay, and let me ask you this, John. Let me ask you this. Say, for instance, and look, I agree with that thought process, okay? But say, for instance, you do rezone it,
And they move out.
and then they move out, and it doesn't become a feed store, but it's reclassified for any type of small business, and then they can come and put
A movie set,
a strip mall
theater.
there. You see what I'm saying? So it's a lot to think about here. It really, really is. I'm just saying, to me, one of the positive things about zoning is compatible land use.
All right, well, let me
Okay.
give you one.
Compatible land
I
use.
understand. Let me give you another option. If you leave it all agriculture, and then somebody comes in and says, I want to put a feed store there, but it don't fit on agriculture, technically, according to our books. All you have to do is give them a waiver for that business to operate on agriculture. They're good. And then it stays agriculture, so if that business ever closed down, I mean, that's another thing.
So what you're saying
I'm trying to make
is-
this as simple as possible.
Well, sometimes things ain't extremely
The one
simple.
thing is, if we overcomplicate it, though, Shane, we're gonna miss something. We're gonna say, well, we got a saddle shop, we got a
Agreed.
feed store, but we're gonna miss something else.
Then
And
an
it's
ice
still
cream
gonna be a
stand,
waiver.
then
What
a
about a
tire
snowball
store, and then a,
It still would be a waiver.
Aaron, what'd you have to say?
What about a snowball stand? That's a country thing. In the country,
I
everybody
mean, at
likes a
some point,
snowball.
I see what you're saying. You're
Well,
trying
if it's a
to,
snowball, I guess you could reclassify, if you so choose, that's the right thing to do. I mean, I don't see where it's really that complicated. To me, a business related to agricultural in an area that's zoned agricultural is a positive thing. To me, a different type of business that doesn't support or is not related to agricultural may not belong. That's just my opinion. Now, if we, to me, it's better to have something like that written and allowed. If we just strike small business altogether, then
If they want to do it, they can come ask
the type of
us.
small business, you're going to have to come back and get reclassified.
There was an issue, maybe District 1? Where,
Was?
yeah.
Okay, so the two choices are, and that's what I see, two choices. Either we strike it out or we include it in there and put a description of what agriculture use.
You know, I just think it should be related to agricultural use.
So we
Businesses,
either got to say,
small business related to agricultural
I
use.
agree.
okay, so someone make a motion on what they want to do to recommend.
I can't make motions,
I know.
but if, it'd be really nice if, let's let Mr. Gomez talk. Don't forget to say who you are, just so they can write it down.
Herb Gomez, Greater Baton Rouge Association of Realtors. A suggestion, I haven't read it closely enough to know if you have something called conditional use permits or not. That might solve your issue, where you can have small business, in quotes, with conditional use permit, which comes to the council, and they approve
that
it for
too.
that particular use and only that use. If it's no
Okay.
longer used for that,
See.
then it goes back to agriculture.
See, I knew it was a good idea for you to come here.
That's good.
Okay, so wait, I don't quite
leave, 'cause I
fully
like
understand
that.
yet.
Don't leave.
So you're saying it would stay agriculture, but you give them a special condition.
Conditional use permit
That way
for
the
that
land
particular piece
stays,
of land.
I like that. I
Okay.
like
it
that.
stays
Like
agriculture.
a snowball stand, yeah.
Then you say it's
I like that.
conditional
Or
for
you
this.
say you want a feed store there, you get a conditional use permit for small business for that feed store.
But the property technically stays
All right,
agriculture.
so hold on.
Yeah, don't go away.
So, got a couple of questions. All right, so what you're
I
saying
haven't looked
is,
that close enough to know if you even have that in the ordinance or not.
so what you're saying is, it needs to be maybe a separate ordinance, maybe modify the permitting ordinance or something?
If it's
that
not in here
allows-
already, then you need a section, and I think they probably have, I think they have one in Baton Rouge, East Baton Rouge, you have conditional use permits.
So
Let me write that down.
So why don't you
Are y'all
just,
writing that down?
Shane,
Conditional use permit.
instead of adding a small business into the agriculture zoning, add a section that says you can apply for a conditional special use permit.
Yeah.
But with the
I
conditional
like that
use
too.
permit, how would you accept or deny that?
You would accept that a conditional use is conditioned for that particular
The
piece
council
of
would
property for
accept
that
On a case by
particular use.
case?
Case
but
by
is-
case.
Is there,
Small
like,
business
say,
conditional
say
use.
we had something come that we really didn't think was a good idea, we just deny?
Deny it, yeah.
Don't give the permit. Which is the same as I said earlier
We
about.
can get feedback. We can
Okay,
get
then you
feedback
would allow
before we actually
small
make the
business
law.
Yeah, no, I'm
Conditional
just
use
trying to
permit.
understand
It's got to be in a
the,
public hearing anyways. It's gotta-
But you're not making, I mean, what he's saying,
That was still-
Okay. All right,
it's
we're
still
moving
a
on.
change. Wait, I want to ask a
Go ahead.
question, Chairman. It's still a change. If we do it that way, you still have to go to a public hearing.
We're going to have to figure
oh,
something out.
to
We
add
gotta-
that conditional use permit.
Yeah, we wrote it down, we're going to work on it, we're going to somehow or another figure out a way to put that together. Okay. It's getting back up to the top on allowed uses, I want to hear y'all's feedback on this, okay? My thought is, when we're dealing with residential property, and agricultural allows for residential structures, right? Then the Livingston Parish Council needs to not regulate or restrict the type of residential structure within that residential classification. Now, if you want to talk about that.
Within that
some more.
agricultural.
Agriculture, R1, R2, 2.5, 1.5, things of that nature.
It
I
seems,
think you're wording that wrong.
yeah, me too. I think
Okay,
when
well,
you're
word it
talking
for
about
me.
stru-
What are you
When you're
saying?
talking about structure, that has nothing to do with R1 and R2. You
Yes,
said
it does.
No, it don't. Not structure.
Structure is the type of residential structure.
Correct. So the type of residential structure doesn't, we don't regulate what kind of structure you got to put on R1, R2.
Yes, we do.
How?
It's within the zoning classification.
Okay,
No, it tells you the density and the stuff. It doesn't tell you what size house you got to build.
You're right about that.
But that's what structure means, what size house.
You're right about that, but let me give you an example, it'll help. If I give you an example, it's going to help.
please,
Okay.
please.
Under permitted use, under agricultural, it says detached, single-family dwelling, including mobile home, manufactured homes, modular with or without chassis, okay? there it's gonna allow basically for any type of residential structure,
Correct,
okay?
correct,
On an agriculture property.
correct,
Right.
So it's still not technically residential, it's still agriculture.
correct, correct.
You're just putting a building that people,
It doesn't exclude any kind of structure.
That's right.
It doesn't tell you the size you gotta have, it doesn't
That's right.
exclude any kind of structure. It's in there right for me,
that makes sense to me.
that's right.
I'm okay with that too. I'm okay with that too. I'm just saying, to me, what it should say is detached single-family dwellings. And to me, you're covered whether you build a house, whether you put a trailer, whether you put a mobile home. Come on, let's let Dee Dee talk.
That's what mine says. That's what mine says.
Okay.
Single-family detached dwellings is considered homes. So that's in agriculture and that's in R1. When you move to R2, it says only single-family detached dwellings.
Right.
Agriculture in R1 specifies mobile homes or modulars. It does not carry over to R2.
Doesn't have to, we're discussing agriculture right now. So,
Well, but
so what-
Well, he had jumped to R1 in the definition, so he was
yeah,
giving examples.
but right now for agriculture, it includes everything that could be allowed in agriculture. So what do you want to exclude?
nothing, I just want to make sure that everybody agrees. Well, the one thing that's not written there, Randy, is travel trailers.
Well,
Now-
that's not legal, is it?
It is legal
As a dwelling?
on a temporary basis.
Yeah, okay, but this ain't talking about temporary.
I agree, but there may be some confusion if you don't list it here that they can't be permitted on a temporary basis
easy.
to live in a travel trailer for a short period of time. Disagree, I'm okay. I just want to make sure that the group, I wish, we got Mr. Gerald McMorris here. Appreciate you
That
coming.
came up in planning today, and they needed that clarified
we
because someone
just need to
needed that
clarify it.
temporary, correct.
Okay, let me ask you a question. So in agriculture, I know R3, you could put more houses per acre. In R2, less, and then R1, even less. And I've heard agriculture is even less than that. Is that true?
I don't know if I quite understand your question, but what I can say is density or maybe in agriculture, your minimum lot size is 3 acres.
3 acres.
R1 is minimum size 1 acre.
Okay, so with agriculture, you can have no more than one resident per every 3 acres. Is that correct?
True, unless you apply for a second address, but keep going.
Okay, but you'd have to apply for that, you'd have to get a variance or something.
Right, you could have one residential
Right,
structure
right.
per 3 acre lot.
Right, okay. So it's actually less dense. Agriculture is less dense than our most densest residential, which is R1.
Right.
Most restrictive is R1, and agriculture is even more restrictive in dealing with residents. So why not just leave it like that? If someone was to put a travel trailer in there, they could fall under travel trailer rules if we have that somewhere else. But if they move one in there, they ain't gonna be but one every 3 acres.
That's a good question. The problem is this. The problem is travel trailer is not described specifically under agricultural, but you do have mobile home, manufactured home, you have modular home, and you have single-family detached dwelling. So,
I'll put RV in it, now it's through, travel trailer. Is that it? That's all we have to do? Is that it?
yes.
I'll make a motion that we add.
Well, you ain't got to do that. What we're going to do tonight, y'all.
I just see us bogged down and not moving,
Well, hold on, okay, so, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk about making some modifications, and we're going to document some modifications, right?
Okay, so do you want?
We don't need to put this forth to the council
we
yet.
won't-
We're
we
not
won't-
ready.
We won't, okay.
Write down that.
So what I'm asking you, do you agree with a travel trailer should be in there or not? That's what I'm asking.
I agree it should be if you follow the ordinance that allows you to live in a travel trailer temporarily.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're good, just what you just said.
Just
That's a
travel
good
trailer.
move.
I'm okay with that, too.
Yeah.
Okay, so next step.
Going too fast for you, Shane?
Say that again?
Are we going too fast for you?
Well, I mean, I don't want it to just take 6 months, but some of this stuff, I think that if we clarify in one section, and then we just duplicate it in other sections, it's going to speed this whole thing up. We'll probably be able to get a lot done. Yeah,
What's your next one?
okay. So the next one is this. Do you all agree, and we need to look at the definition, if you have a definition, civic, school, and municipal uses allowed within agricultural classification, okay?
Civic, like civic centers?
Yeah, civic center, I guess, we need to look at the definition. It's supposed to be defined. So let's look at the definition. Let's make sure as a team we agree that it should be allowed or
In
not.
agriculture?
In agricultural.
I don't think that's agriculture.
Well, let's talk about it.
So definition for civic, school, and municipal uses. Specify such locations as public schools, public, federal, state, and local buildings, hospitals, cemeteries, churches, fraternal organizations, religious institutions, and public utility uses considered compatible with the residential neighborhoods that surround them.
I like to strike number 8 out.
Okay.
So you should be
Strike
able
number
to,
8 out.
it's cemeteries, a school, you want to put a school out there, that sort of thing.
Cemeteries is separate. That's a separate.
I don't
But
think
you
it's-
heard his definition, what that means, okay? So y'all agree we should strike that out, and if somebody wants to build a church or something like that, we're just gonna,
There's a separate
Churches
line
is separate.
item for
Yeah,
churches.
Okay.
8 is civic and school.
can you reread your definition loud?
That's the definition of what he's reading.
Civic, school, and municipal.
You're supposed to be reading
This
definition
is the
number 8.
definition for civic, school, and municipal uses. Specify such locations as public schools, public, federal, state, and local buildings, hospitals, cemeteries, churches, fraternal organizations, religious institutions, and public utility uses considered compatible with the residential neighborhoods that surround them.
Yeah, so to me, I agree with striking, because to me, I'm all for schools and hospitals and things of that nature. They're necessary for,
So all of these are allowed in agriculture?
currently, yes.
Okay, so what's number 9's definition?
Number 9's
Ought to be
definition.
just cemeteries, huh?
Wait, let's scratch this 8 right here. But thank you for the definition stuff. Number 9 is cemeteries and memorial gardens. I'm fine with that if y'all are okay with that.
I am too.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Okay, number 10 I would strike out.
So we're going to say that daycares, let's talk about that. That's small business. That needs to be reclassified as small business.
Business. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Okay,
And they can apply for a conditional use permit.
correct.
Once we get that straight.
Okay, number 11,
Convenience stores. To me, that's small business. You need to
That's
apply
small
for your
business to me,
conditional
too.
correct.
permit.
Strike
right.
out.
Strike. I wonder if the rest of this council's going to agree with us. Churches, temples, factories,
Synagogues, I don't see how that's,
parish houses. We got so much in here. Okay, let's go back.
but 12 and 8's almost the same, ain't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess so.
So,
Guest houses. What are we talking about, a guest house?
okay,
We're talking
this
about-
house needs to stay.
Like a mother-in-law
I guess,
suite kind of
To me,
thing.
that's residential structure, but, okay.
the reason
Residential
a
living.
guest house can stay, what if you don't have nothing but horses and stables, and someone's paying to ride that horse and stable, and they
Yeah.
give them a place to
Right, and-
wash,
right.
shower, anything.
Of course, you can have water
Even on the
wells.
movie Yellowstone, they got a guest house
They
out
gotta
there.
have
where
a
they-
Yellowstone.
Now, we would be okay with guest houses, water wells, communication towers. We need our cell phones to work.
What about it, not Airbnb though?
I was going to ask you, I would say no, but
No for me.
Why?
Airbnb?
Yeah.
Airbnb is one of the most unregulated industries we have in the parish, one of the most problems we have in the parish. That needs to be a separate entity.
We do have a problem with that? I didn't
In
know.
my area, we do.
Do you? Okay. Oh, yeah, I guess so, huh?
yeah. I just think that Airbnb, I'm not saying there's not a place for it. I think that Airbnb needs to fit under a certain classification, and if
By
you're okay
itself.
with that Airbnb being there, then it needs to be
No scratching.
classified correctly.
Apply for some kind of a permit.
Yeah,
to
you
use
see
it
what
as-
they have unregulated ones, and they have some that are regulated, and that's what happens.
And I would think that, and we can work on this some more, a conditional use permit, maybe Airbnb fits, I don't know, maybe we do a new classification, but for right now, we're
I think
scratching it.
Airbnb should be by themselves.
Scratch it out.
Yeah,
Or something. Tennis courts, swimming pools, and garden homes, I mean, if somebody wants to put a tennis court in their backyard, I mean, I'm good with that. I'd leave it.
Garden homes.
Where do you see that one
Where do
at?
you see garden homes?
Which one?
Okay.
Which one?
This is the law today, the way it's written,
Okay.
okay? So today,
Oh, you're going back. and
Today, the
forth.
law says you can have tennis courts, swimming pools, garden homes, and tool sheds. Of course you can, that's private use stuff. To me, it's not
Well,
commercial.
what is a garden home?
Garden home is a type of,
Size of house, really, isn't it?
Right. So to me,
type of
we
residential.
shouldn't regulate the size of the house. If they want a home, they can have a home. It doesn't matter to me what type of home. It's agricultural. And you can't have,
No more than-
I guess she's right about something. One, we're talking about one, we're not talking about
Garden homes. We're
garden
talking about a garden.
homes. It says, yeah, we need to maybe scratch.
I don't see that on mine.
I'm
Well, it's
looking-
not, it's the current law
looking,
allows it.
Where are you at? R2
It's,
residential.
the current law under, I don't know, permitted uses, B, C,
Oh, I see.
see.
Okay, sorry. I just couldn't find the right page.
4. Y'all want to just scratch that all together? Let's just scratch 4 completely. Scratch 4 completely. Of course, they can have pools and tennis courts if they want to in their backyard.
A4 or B4 or C?
B4.
So you don't want them to have a tennis court on there?
Of course they can, but they don't need even, I mean, just tell them to go build it if they want it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I see.
I don't see
Hey,
where
I
that.
got the right paper now.
All right, we'll scratch it.
You want to put you a basketball court in your backyard, just go ahead. You're good to go.
You don't need
to. To me, that shouldn't be a part of
It's
it.
overregulating.
Yeah, it's overregulated.
Agriculture, which is the whole purpose.
Okay. Under use, we've got raising and keeping of domestic animals.
Seems agriculture to me.
It definitely is, but I mean, I don't know if it needs to be written. I mean, we talked up here, we said,
Yeah.
Yeah, let's keep it in there.
think
though.
it needs to
Let's
be
keep it in there.
that's fine.
Let's
Where
keep
where you, where'd you?
Why you want to keep, may I ask why you want to keep it in there?
The reason I would like to keep it in there because we're trying to regulate where we don't have to give waivers, and somebody's gonna say, look, I wanna use this agriculture to raise 10 horses on or whatever, and somebody's gonna say, where it's not listed, now you're gonna have to come before the council and give a waiver. If it's listed, then you don't have to give a waiver.
What item is that? What number is that?
B5 on the current.
If it's agriculture, it should be,
Livestock.
Flip this
Oh,
one?
it's here.
it's a no-brainer. If it's agriculture, you're gonna be raising animals. Can't raise animals.
Scratch this. Kept that. We scratched that.
Well, there are these little boutique animal places now, like, for example, there's a place in Baton Rouge called Cat Haven. It's like a,
But isn't that a
Yeah.
business?
We
yeah,
scratched that.
but
Okay.
they're helping and raising animals in there.
Yeah, but what it says here, that you can use your agriculture property for raising and keeping of domestic animals. To me, that's a no-brainer.
Well, that's a farm. That's what agriculture's for.
Okay,
Culture
okay, okay.
is.
I'm thinking store,
Yeah.
and, yeah, okay.
You agree, Shane, that we should keep that in there? Yeah.
Basically, the law says today, y'all, it's got livestock,
Yeah.
commercial and non-commercial. All it is saying livestock plus
Right. You know,
other
some-
animals.
Some people might
Any
have
type of
sheep
animal. You
or
can have any
goats
kind of
or
animal you
yeah.
want, as long as it's
Okay. Okay,
legal within the state or
recreational
federal.
use.
Okay, let's move on. We got number 17 says wedding and party venues. Can somebody,
Yeah.
Dallas, can you talk a little bit more about what specifically that means? Wedding and party venues?
Like,
At the strawberry patch.
a wedding venue, someone has a farm, they got a nice, beautiful barn, they said they want to rent the barn out for weddings, that sort of thing.
I thought the same thing. I just want to make sure.
At the strawberry patch does.
I'm good with that. Are y'all good with that?
I'm good with that.
As long as they
There's plenty
follow
of
the
them
commercial
out there right
development
now in
ordinance,
agriculture.
right?
What's that?
And do they need to follow the commercial development ordinance to build the thing?
That's a that's their personal property. I mean, that if I charge you to come and have a crawfish ball on my place, do I have to go get a
No, not a crawfish ball, but what if it's,
wedding?
A retirement party.
Yeah, you know, you look at the strawberry patch,
I can help, definitions small. I can run a strawberry patch and have a barn and have two
Correct.
under small business.
So Matt, you good with that, right? In there?
I mean, berry barn, is it an Amy? Berry barn, Amy.
And that's well,
They have a big strawberry festival.
and that's,
Throughout the year, and then they have a huge barn that everyone flocks to have their wedding.
and that's what I'm looking at. And I think that's needed. I think that's.
Oh, I do too. I
Yeah,
just-
I think it should stay in there, me.
yeah.
Anybody agrees or
Yeah, leave it in
disagree?
there, leave it in
I
there.
think it
Leave
needs.
it in. So actually, it's not in the current law. We're going to put a check mark to add it to the current law.
now you also have, you know, like the
Now-
strawberry patches, and they've got all kind of
Right.
playground equipment, and kids go out there and have birthday parties, pick strawberries, do whatever, corn mazes, all that sort of
Right.
thing, you know? So,
Okay,
that's kind
so
of
we're
what we're
getting,
talking about.
we're moving on, it's, because I think we're going to be able to duplicate, not all of it, but some of this in the next one. Okay, so don't go away, Dallas, because you got to read this. So, under B, y'all, it says accessory use. In, I guess you could say the updated version that we're looking at, not the current law, it talks about home occupations. And it says definition. It has it in the current law too. Home occupations. Can we define home occupations and make sure that everybody kind of agrees what a home occupation is?
Yeah, so what we're coming up with means any occupation, business or commercial enterprise conducted within the home, no person other than the members of the family residing on the premises shall be engaged in such occupation. The use of the dwelling unit for home occupation shall be clearly incidental and subordinate to its use for residential purposes by its occupants, and not more than 25% of the floor area of the dwelling unit shall be used in the conduct of the home of the occupation. There shall be no change in the outside appearance of the building or premises or other visible evidence of conduct of such home occupation other than one sign not exceeding 2 square feet in area, non-illuminated and mounted flat against the wall of the principal building. No home occupation shall be conducted in any accessory building.
I like that. I like to leave that in
And
there.
then also, it's about traffic.
I like it too,
There's
but
no
the sign
traffic.
thing to me is a little bit over-regulating, but
Yeah, leave it in there. Let them do it. Let them
That's
do the sign. And the reason why, because,
he's got a 2-foot sign. You can't have a 3-foot sign?
oh, well,
I mean, I think that's a little bit
Like,
over-regulating.
Traffic-wise, no more traffic than what usual
yeah.
you would have at a home.
You know what comes to my mind? People that have places, they will sell Mary Kay out of their house or Avon or something. And, you know, you
Or
just.
they might have a dirt business.
I
Falling
don't know
dirt.
about a dirt.
Well, that'd
business.
fall
I don't
under
know about a
different.
dirt.
That'd fall under different.
Yeah, dump truck.
No, I mean,
you
to
don't
me, it would
usually
fall
have
in
that.
there.
Yeah, dump
Bring
truck,
it down
that ain't
to your
gonna,
house.
because nothing he read would fit in a dump truck.
No, I'll dig a commercial pond. That's a
That's
separate.
right.
Well, what are we going to do with people that, okay, so you bring up a good point. What are we going to do? I've got people in my area. I know you've got people in your area. They have a home office inside their house and they run a dirt business. That's what they do. They park their equipment in the yard. I don't have a problem with it.
I don't see anything that says you couldn't park equipment in your yard. I didn't see that.
And run the operation out of your home.
He said if it's incidental, if it didn't change the appearance of your home, and it
And
didn't
more
have a
traffic.
sign.
That's right. And he said, didn't you say more traffic? If it
Yeah,
did.
you
not really
can't
more
generate
traffic.
more traffic than what's usual for a home.
So I thought I heard you say that you couldn't have the dirt business under this definition,
Well, you
but I
can't-
thought I heard you say
I
that you could.
did, but under a commercial pit, that's a different thing. Now, if you're talking about parking your
No,
truck.
I'm just talking about parking
Yeah.
your equipment there,
Yeah,
and
but his definition covered that.
his definition covered that. You agree his definition
Yes,
covers that?
yes.
Did you agree that his definition
Absolutely.
covers that?
Absolutely.
Okay, me too. Gerald, do you agree? Okay. Good. Just want to make sure that we're not shutting these people down.
Right, we don't want to shut
Because
it down.
this is really
We don't want to shut
the
it down.
law here, and we don't want no
Okay, so what's the next
discrepancy.
one? What's the next one, Shane?
Okay. Okay, wait, come back. So, under accessory use, y'all, we've got garages, okay? Now, we kind of might need to define garage to make sure everybody kind
I would
of.
like to hear it defined.
Okay, what's a garage to you, Dallas?
I think we need to specify further, but garage to me is an attached garage from the house, or a detached metal building, something like that.
Okay, so you're not talking about a mechanic shop?
No, no.
A garage to park a vehicle, not to run a transmission shop.
To me, that's part of your residential structure. You can have as many garages as you want.
That's right, yeah.
Not restricted.
Just leave it.
We're just going to leave it.
Yes. Small business.
Okay, small business. Now, we talked about this already, and we're gonna add a conditional use permit for small businesses. So we don't need to remove it, we need to add some type of process for conditional use
You're gonna
permits.
come back with that.
And we're gonna come back with that.
Okay.
Okay, so we can move on.
What's the next one?
Recreational use, public parks, playgrounds, playfields, including uses accessory to the incidental operations.
Now,
I
some
don't-
of that, he made an example a while ago that at the Strawberry Barn, they do have playground equipment.
Sure, that's
You know, I don't call that public equipment, that's just playground equipment there at that place. I don't see a problem with it.
I don't have a problem with it either.
I don't, if suppose someone puts a baseball field and they have games, now, if a recreation district takes over and they're gonna make a organized baseball, then it might need to be rezoned into something like that. But I don't have a problem with people having baseball or softball or playground or on agricultural property. I think that's fine.
But number 2,
Okay, so let's talk about this, and this is just feedback here I'd like to receive. Okay, under the new clarified version, under not allowed uses, they have landfills, okay? Of course, to me, if you're gonna put a landfill, you're gonna need to be classified in some way, shape, or form other than agricultural. That's what I was just, what? Oh. I'm sorry, I missed it. Okay. Are we going to allow country clubs and golf courses within an agricultural? No. Feedback?
I mean, if you have a, no. if you-
Subdivision. Yeah, I agree. We're scratching it. Unless somebody can come up with a legitimate reason, and they may, to add it back.
Country Club is not a residential development.
It's really not. You're right. Thanks for that. Good over here?
It's called something else now.
Okay, let's go back to not allowed uses. Okay, those we talked about earlier were all allowed uses.
even a country club?
No, we scratched it.
Yeah, okay.
Landfills is not allowed in agricultural classification, okay? The current law doesn't allow for gentlemen clubs, private adult membership clubs, adult video bookstores, and adult gift shops. The modified law, all they got is landfills. I like the idea of not allowed gentlemen clubs, private adult membership clubs, adult video bookstores, and things like that. To me,
Scratch it out.
yeah. Well, it's not on here, but we're going to modify the law to not allow that. To me, if you're going to have that, then that's going to need to be
Business.
put in a certain place.
That don't go in agriculture.
Yeah, that don't go in agriculture.
Unless
Well, it
you
wouldn't
set
go
on
in there
pass.
anyway.
Well, the current law has it. See?
So that is not allowed in any district so far, what we put together.
Current law has it. We're going to scratch it. Where's the new, yeah, see.
But what I'm
The new
saying
law is
though
not gonna
is,
have
it wouldn't go in there anyway, because it's a business, and it would have to, I'm
It's scratched
fine with
out.
scrap, yeah, I mean, specified, yeah, you know,
Scratched out.
Yeah, it's scratched out.
Next.
Okay. And maybe you're right.
That's correct.
Okay. Moving on.
yeah, sorry, I was thinking of it. I was-
Disheartened?
What you laughing at? All right, y'all. I'm gonna try to go faster. I don't know how to speed this up.
What's your concern?
R1, okay?
Is that in the same,
Sheet.
oh, that's R1.5 you talking about?
I'm talking about R1.
I got all 1.5,
Okay.
all 1 is where? What sheet is that, nobody?
I don't know. I flipped
Right
it, but
underneath it.
it is, but the
Just-
definition's incorrect. So where's the right definition for R1?
This one's not right?
Yeah, see how they got the purpose here? It says
Okay.
AG.
Do you want a copy of the definition from this?
I'll just read it from here. It's probably the same, right? R1, y'all, the purpose of R1 is to permit low-density, single-family residential development on individual lots. The district also allows for small businesses and some agricultural uses. All lots shall be a minimum of 1 acre. We okay with this? My thought, y'all, and we kind of talked about it earlier under agricultural, when you're talking about small business, that's not R1. R1 is residential living, 1 acre lots. So to me, if you're going to do a small business, you need to come back and get a conditional use permit, or you're going to need to reclassify.
I agree.
Okay, so we're going to scratch that. Now, I'm also going to say this. I'm all for agricultural. My whole area is wonderful cattle country. Everybody got horses and all this kind of stuff. But we took care of this already with our ordinance that we passed on existing use. If they're using it for agriculture, for horses and cows and stuff, you know, then they can continue to use it today. To me, R1 is 1 acre lots, residential homes or trailers.
I agree with what you're saying, but have we passed that ordinance yet? I think it's still in public hearing.
That's true, but this is going to be this is still going to be law for a while.
Okay.
So I'm thinking we take that out too, unless somebody's here that wants to.
Which one you taking out?
R1.
So under the definition of R1, under the new clarified version, we're just going to scratch for where it says allows for small business and some agricultural use. We're just going to scratch the district also allows.
Is that a number
All of
on
that.
that one or no?
No, it's in the definition.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
What's your next definition?
Hold up. R1, 65 width lots is not R1. Okay, so, to the best of my knowledge, anyway.
Anybody got that answer? What is R1 width lots, lot widths?
That's the modified version, but I don't think the current law says 65-foot lots.
I gave you R1 to pass out.
You gave me an R1 pass out? That means I should have it. Five.
I have them right here.
You got an R1?
I just looked
What's
up on
the
Evo.
width lot on R1 per the current law?
80.
80 is what I come to my mind in. That's what I was about to say. So the, let's see what this says, y'all. A lot width of 65 feet or less shall have a 6-foot setback. Okay, but that doesn't really say that the minimum lot width. It just says that if you have a lot 65 feet, you got to have a certain setback. We need to scratch that anyway.
I have the setbacks right here, too.
Hey, y'all, we're going to scratch that completely. The side yard, Dallas, you might want to come talk about why we put this in here in the first place. To me, okay, when it comes to side setbacks, you need to follow the ordinance,
Correct,
period.
correct,
We don't need this extra stuff in here.
correct.
So leave it how it
And
is
no
right
build,
now.
we got a maximum height
You
of the
don't need
building.
that either.
Let
You
them
don't
build
need-
whatever kind of,
That's right.
they might have a 3-story house.
Well, this has building height right now.
But we
You
want
want
to
to
scratch
take it out?
Say that again?
This one that's adopted has a building height maximum 35 feet.
Are we scratching that? They
So
might have a
leave-
3-story house they want to
Leave everything the
build.
same except take that out.
Say that again?
Leave everything how it's adopted right now.
Well,
80
I'm
foot.
gonna give you a copy of some of this stuff, and then we're gonna redo it, and, yeah, we're scratching it. The rear yard, I mean, I think we should just follow current law setbacks, whatever they are.
It
I mean,
is.
I don't,
So the only thing that's different, front yard 25 foot, that's right.
rear yard 30 foot, that's right. Side yard, 7 foot setback. So side yard's different.
Redundant, it's over and over.
Yeah, it's just over and over. We're just going to scratch that. They're going to follow the current law when it comes to setbacks.
Redundant.
I don't think we need any of that in there, to be honest with you.
I agree.
Okay. Do one in here, if y'all agree. Where did John Washcombe go?
That's okay, go ahead.
Minimum width of a lot under R1 is 80 feet. It was 80 feet. Today, it's 80 feet. Okay? You can't have anything less than 80 feet in BR1.
We're just gonna follow what's on there and strike the
That's
height.
that's the current law. That's right.
So we don't have to mess with that,
Nope.
right?
Nope.
Okay, next.
Wait, I don't understand, because then it says a lot width of 66 feet or more, so just scratch that?
Scratched all that, because there's a current setback law already in an ordinance that tells you what the
That's being
setback should be.
redundant.
That's redundancy.
Okay.
He's right. Okay. Under the allowed use, we're just going to copycat what's in agricultural when it comes to single-family homes, RVs, mobile homes, modular homes, all that. So we're just going to put a little note here that says copy ag. Okay. All right, this is, where's our ag stuff? Okay, this is the same, all right. Okay, we're gonna, this is R1 now. We scratched R1, we scratched the civic school stuff, so we're gonna scratch it. We're gonna scratch it in R1 too, right? So we're scratching 4.
Yep.
We left guest house. Left that. We're scratching Airbnbs. Cemeteries. We're going to allow people to have cemeteries.
R1?
I want to take a minute, if you allow me to, Shane,
Yeah,
about
right.
the Airbnbs. The reason I think that's an industry by itself is that the ones that do it right, we never have any complaints against it. But the guy that just moves off, says, I'm going somewhere else for a month and work, I'm gonna rent my house out for Airbnb during the weekends, it disturbs the neighbors because there's no one watching. And
What?
no one's watching the place, and the neighbors get overrun by people, you know, a lot of intoxicated people, teenagers and stuff that way. If you're gonna be an Airbnb, you have to be regulated and not just stuck somewhere where anybody can be an Airbnb. What I feel, anyway.
Yeah, that's the first I've ever heard.
That's 34, 36 of them in my area, and they're all on the river. And they live close together. So what happens, a family may move and go visit some relatives in Iowa or Nebraska, and they rent it out to different people, and they're not there. They don't have anybody, you know, and they do everything by mail, and then you may have a bunch of teenagers get in trouble, and they disturb the neighbors, and the law is called every 2 hours, and it's a lot of headaches in my area.
Okay, so we're almost through R1. I think we're just going to finish R1, and then we're going to call it a day. We're going to let Caroline say something. She got her hand
Y'all
up.
scratched out country clubs and golf courses?
I've got it written here. I'm going to talk to you after the meeting's over. We're going to scratch out what I've gotten scratched out.
R1,
You could leave
2?
that in R1.
I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah.
What did you say?
Shouldn't you leave it in R1?
Leave what?
Golf courses and country clubs, because that's residential area.
Yeah.
I think so.
That's what's currently.
I think so.
It's not in his revised version, is it?
Y'all scratched it out on agriculture,
Yes.
so for R1, you're gonna leave it since it's residential, like Greystone's R1 right now, or whatever it is. It's residential.
To me, that makes sense.
Okay,
It's
add
in
it.
ours.
I'm going to have to write it.
Clubs and golf courses?
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's
residential.
in here.
Right,
It's in
but he's
ours.
saying scratch
Where is it
everything
at?
from
I don't see
ag.
it.
It's,
I don't see it on your new updated copy here. Oh, wait, it is. It's here. Recreational uses, country clubs and golf courses. Yeah, we're good. Yeah, we're leaving it.
Speaking on the Airbnb, we're going to try to come up with definitions and.
We're going to do something so that
Something
people can
for
have some
Airbnb.
Airbnbs.
But also
this
to
location.
differentiate, we came up, with just a regular bed and breakfast that could probably be allowed in R1 and stuff, like if you run an actual bed and breakfast, the owner has to live in the home and then rent out the rooms and provide a breakfast and that sort of thing.
That
So
makes a big
We're trying to
difference.
differentiate the two.
Big difference.
Okay, home occupations, y'all, we're gonna just duplicate what we had in agricultural. Garages, of course, individual boat or camping trailer storages. Okay. That's almost like having a shed. All right. Recreational use, public parks, open spaces, playgrounds, country clubs. Not allowed, gentlemen clubs, adult video stores. Okay. I'm good. We're done with R1.
The 1.5.
To me, I mean, I hate not to go over all of them because, I mean, we caught the 80-foot width lot in R1. If we went over it and caught that, that would be a problem. But, so we're 70 foot here. I'm good with that. We can scratch all these side setbacks on R1.5. And basically, everything else, we're going to copycat R1.
Correct.
R2. To me, y'all, R2, 60-foot, whoa, man. At maximum width 60 feet. You can have R2
That's
and,
minimum.
oh. So on the R2, y'all, when it talks about loud uses, to me, we should just copycat R1.
Yes.
Y'all agree?
Do y'all see any reason why R2 would be different from R1?
I don't.
Anybody?
I
Y'all
don't.
see any?
When it comes to uses and things of that nature, to me,
It's
the only
ba-
real difference between R1 and R2 is smaller lots.
It's density. That's the
density.
that's the only
That's
thing
really the only real
different. So it's
difference.
really the same thing.
It's really the same thing. Okay, where's R3? R3, garden homes. They can do whatever they want with that. I'm not getting into that. Yeah, I'm not even getting into that. All right, y'all, we're done for the night. I'm gonna do some more homework, if possible, on some of this other stuff. We might revisit this one more time. We're gonna make these modifications and revisit this in the ordinance committee, and then we'll introduce this and adopt it. All right, Gerald, you got something?
Let's skip over to R2 tonight.
No, we went through R2, I'm sorry. R2, let's go over it real quick. R2, it says minimum width 60-foot lot. That's good, that was the intent from original. All of these setbacks, to me, should just be scratched out. We should follow the current ordinance when it comes to setback when you're building a residential structure. The allowed uses is going to be an exact duplicate of R1 and R1.5 under R2.
You good with that?
You good with that? Okay, good.
It makes sense.
Y'all good? All right, so we're going to do some more homework over the next couple weeks, and we're going to revisit this, and then we'll introduce it on the ordinance. All right, so it's time to adjourn this meeting. Appreciate everybody's input tonight. Thanks for coming, team over here.
Comment?
Team over here. Any comments from any of the councilmen?
I have one I'd like to make. I want you to know, I think this is one of the most productive ordinance committees. I mean, we're really breaking down the details, you know, and getting to the things that I think that are important to people in the long run. I just want you to know, Shane, I think you did a great job on this ordinance committee. I mean,
I think everybody put with the input of everybody, you know, we're going to be successful because we got the heart and the initiative and the will to do what's right for the people.
and
So,
you know, I just like the way there was no argument. We all worked together. I mean, if we disagreed, we
great night.
We went
Great
on.
night. We're a good team.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second, anybody? Second by Aaron. All in favor? Aye.